Good afternoon, everyone. Today we'll be discussing about a few concepts in C Sharp, about the literals, about the variables, the data types in C Sharp. So data types it will be in the next session, but today we'll be discussing about in the literals which are the types variables, that and all we will be learning today. Okay, so let's move to the session. So in this session we'll be learning what is the introduction of C Sharp, what are the keywords in C Sharp, what are the identifiers in C Sharp, literals in C Sharp, and the punctuators in C Sharp. That we'll be learning this in this session. In next session we'll be dealing with the data types in C Sharp. Okay, so let's see. So when you consider any of the programming languages, it consists of various concepts. One, you can see you have the numbered concept, you have the concept where it is said to be fully like num the programming concept consists of various numbers. It has the characters, it has the strings. Okay, all these types are there in the programmatic concept where the user uses it in the programmatic concept. Okay, and here what are the programs are nothing but like you are said to be generally running multiple instructions at a time. It performs various instructions, it manipulates the instructions, it does some calculations over the instructions, it can move the instruction from one end to another end, one framework to another framework. That it will be doing in the programmatic languages, any of the language, not only C Sharp, it will be doing other things in the various concepts of languages. Okay, and in this concept of the C Sharp, you will be learning about the instructions and the symbols which are being used in the C Sharp. Symbols are nothing but you may be using the words, or it may be the various characters which you are using in the C Sharp. So when you consider in the C Sharp, you have the tokens, you have the tokens which are said to be called as the keywords, identifiers, literals. All those we will be learning today. Okay, so let's see one by one what and all it is said to be dealt in the language. So what are the keywords? Keywords are the most important essential parts of the language. So keywords are what? Keywords are nothing but the essential parts of the language, and it is said to be having its own features. It has its own specific features, and those keywords are said to be reserved. So whatever you do changes, it will not be applied over the language. Whatever do you do, like whenever you use, those are said to be reserved. It cannot be using any other concept. You can't do additions or modifications for those keywords. Okay, so some of the keyword examples are being given here. You can see you have the abstract, you have the byte, you have delegate, you have fixed, you have float, int, for, long. All those types of keywords are there in C Sharp, which are said to be reserved. You don't change it in the programmatic language. So those are said to be the essential parts of the language, your keywords. Okay, and then you move on to the identifiers. Mainly what are identifiers are nothing but only it's a name which is said to be given to any of the methods. It may be variables or the user defined items are nothing but the user defined means our own defined elements. Those it will be named, those are said to be the identifiers, and those identifiers are said to be using the various data types. It may be using int, float, double. Those data types it will be used here. Okay, one or more characters may be there, or a single character may be there of the identifiers. Identifiers are nothing but the variables, and the variables they start with the either letter, it may be alphabet, or the underscore. Okay, when any of the elements, when it is said to be having the double consecutive underscores, then it is said to be reserved by the compiler. It doesn't change all over the program. Wherever you use it, that value it doesn't change. It fixes it as constant all over the program. And in the programmatic languages, you have the identifiers which may be of upper cases and lower cases. Like they have differentiation. There is a difference in C Sharp where you use capital letters and small letters. So this is an example you can see here. A programmatic language, it uses the identifiers here, where at if is the or identifier which is being used in the program. Here also the declaration and the value is being given in the identifier. Okay, if here is representing the identifier concept and C Sharp. Okay, then you move on to literals. Literals are nothing but the constant values which are assigned to the variables. Remember, literals are what? Those are the values which are constantly assigned to the variables. There are different types of literals. You can see here you have numeric literals, you have boolean literals, and character literals. And numeric literals are of two types, integer and real type. Okay, numeric literals are of integer type and real type. Integer, it's nothing but when it is said to be represented in 1 to 1, or with a comma. When it is said to be represented, then it is said to be integer. Real, remember, it will be having decimal point. That is said to be the real part. And characters are said to be represented in single quotes, and the strings are represented in double quotes. Okay. And other types of literals, down here it is being given, you can see, which are said to be represented with the slash, backslash. So backslash A is your alert, backslash B is your backspace, backslash N is new line, backslash T is horizontal tab, and backslash V is your vertical tab. All these types of literals are said to be present in C#. Okay, then at last, at the end of this session, we will be learning about what do you mean by punctuators. Punctuators are nothing but various punctuation symbols which are being used in the programmatic concept. So you can see here punctuations which are being used in C#. Here you have the parenthesis. You know, all the for loops are being introduced within the parenthesis, or the methods are said to be ended with the double parenthesis, or you have the braces within the flower. For loop also has your braces, this flower brackets are there. Then when you are representing the arrays, you use the square brackets. Then each and every statement, some of the statements, it will be ended with a semicolon. And colon, when I want to use the case statements, then I use the colon. And comma, you all know, when I am said to be representing the elements at the end, I want to print the elements, it should be differentiated with the comma. And period is nothing but each and every time when I end something, I end with a full stop. Okay, all these are types of punctuators. So remember, in the C# concept, you have learned about the keywords, the variables, you have the identifiers, you have the variables, and the punctuators. All these types are said to be present in C#, and the data type concept you will be learning in the next class. Okay, thank you.